And I continued to work till 1985. So I've been working since I left school in '76. So I've worked for 9 years. And in '85 I was asked if I would lead what we call a GO team, an evangelistic team. A bunch of guys, full-time young people reaching out to the schools. So this church that I was in, they asked me to do that, and so I gave up my job and started doing that. And that was the year our first child, my son, was born. So in fact the same week that my son was born was the week that my wife gave up her job, or she gave up just before that, but she was working in a bank. She quit that, obviously. She had Ben, and the week he was born I'd quit my job and then started working and taking on this evangelistic team. So out the streets.
What experience, what training have you had until then?
Absolutely none.
Yeah.
And that has remained so ever since. So I've had no theological training at all. I've never been to college. So, and I'm not against that. I think there's a good place for that. And in some ways, if I could go back, I would have liked to have had some theological training. So I've had to teach myself. I've had to get what I can. But I love to read, so that's all.
So you're at 85. You're working for a church in Cardiff on the GO team.
Yeah.
What happens
then? After that year, they ask if I'll stay on full-time working as a pastoral assistant.
Okay.
So I do that for 2 years, and then somebody says to me, would you consider planting a church, which is something I'd like to do. So I said, yeah. And we went back to my hometown of Coventry, myself and Jenny and I, and planted a church in Coventry from scratch.
How did you do that? Just the two of you?
There was a small home group there that were in another church.
Yeah.
And so they were from a church in Leicester, so we got to hear about these folk, and there were, I don't know, just a handful of people there that wanted to start a church, so we went and joined with them. I also loved photography, so I set up a small photography business where I would do weddings and whatever else. And then the church helped support me a bit, so I was kind of supported through my own income and theirs. And just started preaching the gospel and bought a 52-seater coach when there were 20 of us. Just to pick up students from Warwick University and to use it in outreach. Black and yellow it was a heap of junk, but it did the job. And stayed there for 5 years, planted the church grew, got solid, and other guys came and could take it on. So that church is still going strong and has planted a couple of other churches.